can't believe I finished it. I feel like I need to like let it sit for a while before I share final thoughts. Okay, I finished it. Final thoughts. I am really glad that I did not look at any like family trees before I finished the novel. So I was kind of torn because when it started, I had this false idea that it was going to be really hard to read because there were so many characters and it would be really difficult to keep track of all the characters and understand how the different characters' storylines intersected. But that was really, really wrong. Like, I didn't feel that way at all. I think it is a bit overwhelming because you do get bombarded with a lot of characters in the first couple of chapters of the work. But as you progress into the story, that's not the case at all. And even though you are introduced to new characters throughout, it isn't overwhelming. Like, a lot of them are just kind of background characters. Like, you don't really have to remember them and remember these details about them. So like, that wasn't an issue at all. So I'm really glad that I didn't look at any sort of spoilers as to like who's married to who, etc., because I think that would have taken away some of the joy that I experienced towards the end as new families form and people get married, etc. So I'm very glad that I didn't do that. I will say the epilogue of the work. So there are two parts to the epilogue. The first part is concerning wider questions that Tolstoy himself is grappling with via the work, and also kind of tying up loose ends between the reader and the characters so that you know what is going on and it doesn't kind of just end in a really anticlimactic way. So I really appreciate that Tolstoy took the time to do that. The second part of the epilogue I found probably the most interesting, which I think is controversial from what I have seen online, and probably the most challenging thing to read because it is very philosophical and it deals with, again, wider questions about life, about God and God's existence, and power and society and government. And I found that really, really interesting. And I think it also allows you to understand the book more intricately because you are seeing the lens through which Tolstoy is writing, and like why he has written this work and why he has constructed these characters in these ways. So I thought the epilogue, the second part, was super, super, super interesting. Like, that is the part I think that I was waiting for. Like, I was waiting for that. As I was reading it, I was kind of yearning for I don't know how to put this. I was yearning to get something out of the story that was bigger than just my enjoyment of it. Like, I wanted to get something out of it that was not fictional and or not fictitious, and I wanted to get clearer on how Tolstoy viewed these kind of wider questions. And you can really tell throughout the work that he is kind of grappling with these questions through his characters. I would say mainly Prince Andrei and Pierre, which I think he's written himself into both those characters. But at the end, it's kind of like a summation of those thoughts and various conclusions that are drawn. So those are my last thoughts. I don't want to kind of talk about specifics of what happened in the book, just because I don't want to ruin it for anyone who is reading it or wanting to read it. Like, I felt like I had avoided any spoilers, so I didn't know what was going to happen like at all, and that made it a much more exciting experience for me. So I want to be able to give that to other people if possible and not ruin things. Overall, I really enjoyed it. I did not think it was difficult to read. I thought it was going to be really challenging to read, and I didn't think it was at all. I thought the language is very simple there. It's written really, really well. It's very clear. It is very, very interesting. There were parts that I found more difficult to get through because I found them less interesting, like primarily the descriptive war scenes. But that's just generally something I don't particularly enjoy reading, so I knew that that was going to be a challenge. The characters, for the most part, are very well thought out, very interesting. I will say, and I think, again, this is more of a controversial opinion, I really struggled to connect and empathize with Natasha. I found her a really challenging character to not just get incredibly frustrated by, and I think in the epilogue you can see that she's grown up significantly, but there are still elements of her character that just really put me off, and I think, yeah, I don't really know if she's a widely beloved character or not. I don't think Tolstoy wrote her in that way. Like, I think it is really hard to love her and empathize with her and not be frustrated by her. Like, at least personally, that's how I felt. But yeah, like, overall, I really enjoyed it. I think the most challenging thing about this book is the length, but again, it really helped me to break it up into volumes. So instead of thinking about it as being just under 1,400 pages, I just thought of it as separate volumes, and that I think made it a lot more manageable. So I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads and Storygraph, just because it is not my favorite thing that I've ever read, but like 4 stars for me is a really, really good rating. Like, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was beautifully written. I can see why it's such a widely respected and revered work. I am very interested now to read more Tolstoy after this, and I will, after taking a short break from Russian literature. But yeah, so those are my thoughts. If you have stayed, if you have joined me on this journey, thank you so much for being here. I've really enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed making videos about this journey, and I'm going to continue to document what I read over the next coming months. So if you like this stuff, then please stick around. It's been so lovely as well reading all the wonderful comments on the 3 War and Peace episodes so far, so that's been really, really wonderful for me to read. So thank you so much if you've left a comment. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed this journey. Sending you a lot of love if you've been following, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.